Well, I grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm the son of John Piper, who's a pastor, or I guess he was a pastor until March of 2013 when he retired after 33 years in ministry. So almost the entirety of my life was spent as a pastor's kid. And that obviously had a significant impact on how I interacted with the Bible, interacted with God, the base of knowledge that I had. So I grew up knowing all of the things that a good church kid is supposed to know. I knew all the Bible stories. I knew all the Bible trivia. I knew the do's and don'ts. I knew the theology. I mean, my household was one that was different than many people's because there was a lot of theological learning. And so when I went off to a Christian college, I took that with me and really had all of the things that I needed to be a sound Christian kid. And realized that I even had a leg up on some of my classmates who also came from Christian homes, but just didn't have that same base of understanding and just all that stuff that had been filled up in my head and in my life. But what I didn't realize at the time, and only came to realize later, was that having all of that in my life and in my head was a certain kind of belief. It was the kind of belief that says, I know that to be true. So if somebody had come to me and said, hey, here's a piece of advice you really need, which people did, my response almost always was, yeah, I know. I knew everything that they had to tell me. But there's a big difference between knowing that kind of believing, that sort of mental assent kind of believing, and the kind of believing that transforms your life. And that's where I was lacking. I mean, I was a believer, I had committed my life to Christ, but there was this gap between what I knew, what I believed, and where I needed to be, and it caused a lot of problems for me, especially once I got out of college, because that gap is where sin has a place to live. And so it comes in and it begins to grow and expand and gain power in my life. And so I ended up losing a job because I made some dishonest decisions, and that caused a lot of stress on my marriage because my wife didn't know about it. And all of that was because I had this I know attitude, but didn't have this sense of what I know changes who I am. It changes my identity, and it is genuine, deep, transformative belief in God.